Hello and welcome to Dark Hearts with Stacy Lee. Before we begin, please hit that like button. It helps so much. Subscribe to the channel. And you can also join my Patreon. We are in the midst of a fundraiser and I will talk about that at the end of the video. It's cult day here at Dark Hearts. And I'm telling you right now, this is going to be one of the most ridiculous, at times embarrassing and disturbing stories you've ever heard. You probably haven't heard of this cult because its members, by and large, are located in Czech and Slavic regions of the world. I will say that out of all of the cults we've covered, this one is a little less dangerous than many of them. But what these folks lack in maliciousness, they make up for in ridiculousness. Hold on to your butts and get ready to come with me for a walk through the universe people, also known as the cosmic people of light. I'm your host, Stacy Lee. Let's begin. A man named Ivo A. Benda was born in 1961. Ivo is important because he goes on to become the founder of the cult we are speaking about today. He graduated from the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering at the BUT and then worked as an information systems engineer at the Skoda car manufacturing company. Ivo claims that his life was completely changed when in 1997 he had a work meeting with someone named Miloslava Drskova. I know I'm butchering these names. Miloslava was a co-worker of Ivo's, and she claimed that she had the ability to communicate with the Pleiadians. Now, what are the Pleiadians? We are going to talk about that. Let's finish this little part of the story. Miloslava was a student of the teachings of a man named Michael Hesseman. So let's dive in. First of all, we're going to be talking about a system of stars called Pleiades. Now, I found articles saying the word is pronounced Pleiades, articles that says it's pronounced Pleiades, and articles that said different versions. I typed these words into the pronunciation search engines and I got different versions there too. The observatories and the scientists pronounce this cluster of stars Pleiades. So that's what I'll be using today when talking about this cluster of stars that is located 440 light years away from Earth. Now, that is an actual thing. There is actually a cluster of young stars located near the constellation of Taurus the Bull called Pleiades. That's a fact. Now we're diving into not fact. Pleiadians, which I guess should be Pleiadians, are believed to be extraterrestrial beings, aliens, but more than that, they are the originators of the star species. Pleiadians are from the cluster of stars Pleiades. Now, there are many authors who have written articles and books about Pleiadians, but one of the most notable is this woman, Barbara Marciniak. Her books include Earth, Bringers of Dawn, and Path of Empowerment, along with The Family of Light and Tierra. Barbara, according to her biography online, is an internationally known trance channeler who speaks for a group referring to themselves as the Pleiadians. So she is speaking with the Martians. Yeehaw! I gotta hold it together for at least a minute on this. Okay, hold on. The Pleiadians have apparently told Barbara that they are a collective of multidimensional spirit beings from the Pleiades star system. And they have a mission, which is, according to Barbara, to assist humanity with the process of spiritual transformation. I don't know who the CEO of the Pleiadians is. Perhaps I should ask Barbara, but someone at Pleiadia CEO needs to be fired because they are not doing so well in helping us advance or transform spiritually. In fact, things are getting worse down here on planet Earth. So somebody with a direct line to the Pleiadians, somebody in the HR department, please do a swift review of the team in charge of humanity's spiritual transformation. Because right now, it's going to be a no for me, dog. Ivo A. Benda starts getting really into these theories, and then he starts reading the works of Sala. One of the foremost experts on the Pleiadians is this man, Michael Salla, an Australian man who is a producer and author. He has made films like The Cosmic Secret, The Day Before Disclosure, and Deep Space. Michael and Barbara do much of the same work. Michael Salla believes that off-world beings from the star cluster called Pleiades, aliens, are distant cousins to humans. Now, what do I know? He could be right. I am much more prone to believe in the theory of seeding, which is the theory that human life did not originate here on Earth, but rather somewhere else in the universe, and that humans were put here on this planet for what purpose? I do not know. But I am much more inclined to believe in that than I am in a white-bearded man sitting on a cloud who meddles in our lives except when we most need him to, and judges us for what we do with our teepees and tuppies. Well, actual genocide is occurring. Okay, so if those are my two choices, if I have two choices, aliens or the god of religion, I'm going with the aliens. I have to believe in the aliens, because if I choose to believe in the god of religion, that man is a monster. If I choose to believe that there is a God who sits and watches children get abused and people go hungry and families being blown up in wars, but is also going to punish me for drinking a cocktail on Friday night and might help me find my car keys if I pray, asking him to, I will go crazy. I did almost go crazy. I cannot believe in that man. My brain doesn't work that way. So for me, it's aliens. There might be a God. And you know what? I can almost guarantee you that if there is, he is pissed as hell at what we have turned him into in our minds and in our culture and through our books. If there's one thing I feel pretty confident saying, it's that. If there really is a God, he's got to be mad at what humans have made him out to be, especially lately. So, the Pleiades is also called the Seven Sisters. Astronomers refer to the star group as M45. 18th century French astronomer Charles Messier first identified and cataloged this star cluster. The cluster's brightest star is Alcyone, and it is currently thought to be 7 times brighter than our sun. That definitely means there could be life there. There are more than 1,000 stars in the cluster, and under the best conditions, 14 of those stars can be seen with the naked eye. The cluster of stars has been studied throughout history. The Cherokee tribes have a legend that says their people originated long ago in the Pleiades and actually used the word starseeds when speaking of indigenous people. The Navajo people call the cluster of Pleiades the sparkling suns, and the Iroquois pray to the cluster asking for happiness. The Lakota and Dakota people also say that their ancestors are from Pleiades. Now, I'm going to admit something here. When I first started researching this story, I was so geared up to just laugh my ass off through the whole story, and I think that has a lot to do with the artwork that these cosmic people of light generate. We're going to talk about it. But as I dove into this story a little deeper, I got less and less excited about completely making fun of this all, because this is a kind of a private thing with me, and I'm fully admitting it now. I have a very deep reverence and belief for a lot of Native American beliefs and ways. I don't know why. I wasn't raised with it. I wasn't taught about it. There's something in my lizard brain that I have always felt even as a small child. Now remember, I grew up in southern Utah. I went to school from the time I was 4 years old till the time I was finished with school with Native American kids. The Paiute Nation is the largest in my area, but we also have a lot of Navajo as well. I grew up riding around in the back of pickup trucks on the mountains and visiting the national parks and being told stories of Native American legends. My grandparents had a reverence for Native American people and their customs as well, and so does my father. He studies a lot about Native American culture, he reads a lot about their histories, and he's obsessed with arrowheads and Native American artifacts. Now, you know, I grew up Mormon and was always taught the Mormon doctrine. My grandfathers were both Mormon as well, but one of my grandfathers was a little more into this than the other one, and one of my grandmothers would tell me stories about when the Native Americans would come to her porch and want to trade things for like flour, for blankets. This was when she was a little girl in Cedar City. It would have been, I guess the early 1920s. She was born in like 1908. So yeah. One of my grandfathers was a school teacher, and when he graduated, he took this little part-time job driving tourists back and forth from Cedar City, Utah to the national parks. And once in a while, I would ride with him on the little day trip. One of these day trips was a trip to the Grand Canyon, and my grandpa started to tell me this story of what they call shadow people in the Grand Canyon. Shadow people are these beings that Native Americans are kind of afraid of. And my grandpa told me a story about a teacher of his who once saw a shadow person. He told me that you aren't supposed to look at them if you see them. And this man was a teacher of his that knew someone who saw a shadow person as well. And he saw the shadow person, he looked at it, he knew that it was following him, and when he got home, he died. Now, is that true or not? I don't know, but it sure stuck with me as a little kid. So hearing that the Native Americans are also believers in this star system and these people from this star system, it strikes a chord with me. I'm not going to lie. You guys, you know I'm a skeptic. You know I'm very skeptical. I don't have any religious beliefs. I don't really know what I believe. I call myself very agnostic. I'm not for or against God. I'm not for or against religion. I don't really know what I believe. But I tend to gravitate towards Native American thinking. Now, another little side note with me, I am obsessed with ravens. I have been for a very, very long time. Right now, I have an application in to become part of a raven rehabilitation program. That's another story. But when I was about 24, I started my own record label, my own LLC to protect my original songs. I called it Raven Girl Records. I have lots of stories like that of ravens, and now my husband has a raven tattoo. Anyway, when I was going through a really difficult time, I went to see a Native American healer. I was maybe 27 or 28, and no one even knew about my company name. It wasn't a company that I promoted. It was just, I needed an LLC and I named it Raven Girl Records. I watched a lot of stuff on the Travel Channel about ravens. I watched a lot of stuff on Nat Geo about ravens. I love ravens. So I go to see this little old Native American healer. I walk into his tiny little house over near Zion National Park, and he looked up at me, very old man, and you could tell it was painful just to even to move. And he patted the seat next to him and he said, "Come and sit next to me, little raven." That happened, and it still gives me goosebumps. So I have this innate reverence for Native American culture. I think that they are more tuned in to the earth, and I think they are more tuned in to what is happening around us than a lot of people are. That's my opinion. So yeah, it took a little bit of the fun of making fun of this out of it to find out that they believe in a lot of this theory about Pleiades. People are free to believe whatever they want to believe, even if it's silly. Am I here to try to make anyone feel bad? No, I'm not. Am I here to chuckle at some things that I feel like are completely off the rails? Yep, I am. And I think part of the reason I find this group so silly is because of some of the artwork. And today, there's some silliness involved. As Ivo continued to study these authors, this theory that he had been introduced to by his coworker, he took those ideas and ran with them. And I mean, he ran all the way down the line of sanity and took them right off the edge. Ivo's roof might not be nailed down tight, is what I'm saying. And he gets really into this idea that the Pleiadians look like Scandinavian Nordic people. So here we are, already headed into Yahtzee territory. I don't know what the obsession is with people who are blonde-haired and blue-eyed, and that's coming from a blonde-haired and blue-eyed person. It's just very common in these cults for people to hold that up as the standard. Maybe because we're the minority, I don't know why. But then why are other minorities seen as, you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand why or who came up with this is a minority that's okay and this is a minority that's not. It's dumb. And the fact that these different cults all have these same ideas is also funny to me. They always think that their group is the one with the real truth, but then there's like 50 other groups that think the exact same thing they do. As Ivo studies these theories and reads the works of these authors I've mentioned, he begins to make some extraordinary claims. Ivo reports that he made his first contact with aliens on September 1st, 1997, and from that day on, he has been in regular communication with aliens. Ivo left his engineering job and then he changed his name. He was formerly Ivo Benda, but he began going by Ivo A. Benda. What is the A for? Ashtar, of course, the commander of the Great Space Fleet. Ivo joins forces with Miloslava Druskova, and together they begin publishing reports and articles with messages from extraterrestrial civilizations in space. Currently, between Ivo and Miloslava, over 7,000 pages have been written. Now, there's something strange. I couldn't find a verified photo of Miloslava. There are women with that name on the internet, and there are articles linked to Ivo A. Benda with the name Miloslava. But the photos of the women named in different articles are not the same woman. Now, remember, all of this research that I did was in a foreign language, and I had to put it all through Google Translate, so it could be lost in translation. That is what I'm thinking happened. But I'm not going to show a picture of somebody telling you it's Miloslava when I'm not sure that it is. You'd think with all the Mormon missionaries that I know that I knew somebody that spoke Czech or this dialect of Slavic language, and I posted on Facebook and I had some people say, you know, I know Romanian, I know this. I'm like, it's not the same thing. I couldn't find anybody to read it. So there was a lot of Google Translate involved in today's episode. I just want to say that for the sake of transparency. After the books and the articles came the artwork and the videos. Let's talk about the artwork first. It is my understanding that these images, this artwork, is very famous in Czechia. From what I read online, if you are in that region of the world, you are very familiar with this artwork. It's well known and it's often the subject of jokes by comedians. I'm going to show you some of the artwork as we talk. The first thing I noticed was that the artist of these works is not always credited. I always want to give artists credit, but I couldn't find names attached to a lot of these pieces. The artwork is very psychedelic, almost childlike at times, and it is obviously very, very colorful. The artwork to me looks as though you said to an AI, make me a painting of New Age culture and beliefs. This is what you would get. The people are all blonde and thin. The women all have big boobs. They're Nordic looking. The aliens are very sci-fi channel looking, the clothing, the UFOs, the whole thing is pretty sci-fi. There are some very nice messages attached to some of the artwork, but a lot of those messages are plagiarized. For example, under this heart-shaped world drawing is the quote, I have an angelic dream that my children of Earth will one day live on this planet where they will not be judged by their position and role, but by the content of their character. Well, that is an obvious total ripoff of Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream statement. Now, you may like the artwork, great, but I want to talk about this piece in particular because this is where it starts to get disturbing. The cosmic people of light are obsessed with the concept of being chipped. This is the clearest image I could find of what the explanation of their fears are in a nutshell. It's funny and it's disturbing at the same time. This character is called Ashtar Sheran, who is the being these people believe they are able to speak with, that they are able to channel him. He is listed here in this graphic at the top right, there with Jesus, because you know we have to have Jesus as one of the good guys. And Jesus sits alongside Ta, who these people believe is the creator that God himself spoke with in order to turn a primordial mound of matter into life forms, the life forms that we know as human and animal. I know. So Ashtar, Jesus, and Ta are the good guys. The Saurians you are probably familiar with without realizing it. If you've done any documentary diving on conspiracy theories and cults, the Saurians are a lizard-like humanoid species from the planet Sauria, which is not a real planet. I mean, at least Pleiades is real. Sauria is supposed to be like a dinosaur planet that's inhabited by intelligent lizards. It's sometimes called the dinosaur planet because people who believe in the planet believe that there are these highly evolved lizards on this planet. Something just kind of hit me. I'm just wondering at what point my life took the turn that it did in order to bring me here to this chair talking about lizard people on a fake planet that have a bunch of checks in a panic. I'm sorry, this was just a little personal moment of like, how did I get here? Why are the Saurians evil? Because they want to enslave the human race. And how are they going to do that? By chipping us all. The cosmic people of light believe that it started with barcodes, and now barcodes are going to be replaced with chips. This is very, very similar to a lot of QAnon belief. These people believe that an alien race of intelligent lizards are trying to enslave the human race by microchipping us. Yes, I just said that. My friends, my loves, you are carrying around a device in your hand 24/7 that could have the FBI at your door within 2 hours. Your entire life, from what you spend your time doing to what you order to eat to what towels you buy, is on that device. You ain't got to worry about being microchipped because they've already got all the information on you that they could ever want. Now, as technology advances and they have the ability to look into our brains like the Minority Report or something, yeah, we got to start worrying about stuff like that. But right now, nobody's trying to microchip you to find out if you got a vaccine. None of us are that important. We're just not that important. I mean, we're all important. We're all special. We're all important in our own way, but the government doesn't care about your life that much. Now, let's look at this next graphic. The cosmic people of light are also against, so we know what they're for, Jesus, Ta, Ashtar. They are against devil vision, which is the TV. They are against snooping. They are against forcing people to work, which we all know doesn't happen. They are against CCTV. They are against security cameras. They are against the use of satellites, and they are against the use of facial recognition. For a group of sci-fi nuts, they sure hate science and technology, don't they? This graphic from their website says, "We are voting with joy and love for the prime creator of all and everybody. We are voting for the highest wisdom, love, good, and intelligence. We all belong to one whole." And then the bottom, it says, "Beware of attacks from negative extraterrestrial beings and lizard people." Oh, look, I'm all for the love and peace and let's all get along. I am all about that. Why does it always have to be the kooks that say that? A lot of the artwork that comes out of the Cosmic People of Light cult has to do with UFO sightings dating back decades. And like we talked about earlier, from the time of early Native Americans, you guys all know, I'm sure many of you know, that there are hieroglyphics and very old carvings on cave walls that show crafts coming down from the sky and beings that don't look human. If you don't know about that, look into it because that's a real thing. The carvings have been carbon dated. The Native Americans were drawing what looked like spaceships and aliens tens of thousands of years ago. This particular piece of art is entitled Venusian, and it's from 1952. This is said to be a meeting from an alien with one of the believers in the California desert. I found this diagram particularly interesting. This is a cross-section of what some Cosmic People of Light believers believe to be a UFO. It's carefully labeled, and it looks a lot like an oil tanker or a freight ship with different levels of the craft being assigned different uses. It's highly detailed, and I always wonder, if someone has this level of knowledge at this point, where are the photographs? Where is a tiny piece of metal, a bolt, a screw, or whatever the aliens use in place of those things? Just like with Bigfoot, is it possible that Bigfoot exists? Yes, of course it is. Do I believe in it? I can't, because I can't wrap my mind around the fact that there is not a single scintilla of proof. There's not a hair, there's not a bone, there's not anything that serves as proof of Bigfoot. And I feel this way about what this Cosmic People of Power, what are they? The Cosmic People of Light. I feel the same way about what they believe. Now, do I think that the government might have some UFO material in its possession? Probably. I just don't think these people are drawing pictures of something that's actually happened. So yes, the artwork is very, very interesting, and I just can't help wonder how poor Jesus got mixed up in all of this. Like, what did Jesus do to get tossed in the mix of the Sexpot Aliens and the lizard people? Poor Jesus. Now, let's talk about the videos. Are any of you fans of The Simpsons? I've actually thought of making an episode about how The Simpsons have predicted so many things that have come true, predictions from that show. Well, remember the episode where Homer makes a website and it's just this chaotic, noisy page of things that look poorly put together? That is exactly what the videos that come out of this cult look like. I'm going to show you a portion of one. I'm going to speed it up because it's in a different language most of us don't speak, and so you can't hear it anyways. The slides are shown for way too long, and it would be really boring if I showed it at regular speed, but here's a little taste.
Ashtar Sherana, velitele velké vesmírné flotily, která se právě nyní střídala s tahovou vesmírnou flotilu z Pleiad v počtu 100 000 mateřských lodí andělů z nebe. Hovořím k vám, já Ashtar Sheran, skrze Iva Bendu, k vám lidem planety Země. V současné době lidé se směrují ve velké většině do temných světů v negativním stavu dálkového ovládání silami temna, a to z 90% všech jejich voleb. Můžeme vám sdělit, že tyto lidé si volí ne dobrou budoucnost. A proto jsme my tady, abychom jim pomáhali k obratu a k nápravě a radou pomocí jim ukázali cestu směrem ke krásnému, hodnotnému, šťastnému životu, takovému, jaký žijí andělé v nebi, všechny vyspělé společnosti.
I mean, that's a lot to unpack, even if it was in a language I spoke, but suffice it to say there are some very, very extreme beliefs here. So now we are at the part of the cult episode where I always say, why do we care? What does this matter? If a bunch of people want to have these kooky beliefs, let them, right? This is also when I always say everyone is entitled to believe whatever they want to believe as long as those beliefs do not hurt another person. Everyone is entitled to their opinions so long as those opinions do not rub up against someone else's right to exist as they so choose. This is, as always, the paradox of intolerance. In some of the cult episodes I've done, someone comes on and goes, well, you want everybody to be tolerant, but you're not tolerant of my beliefs because your beliefs are bigotry. This is what we call the paradox of intolerance. If your beliefs include disapproval of things like homosexuality, transsexuality, gender dysphoria, things like that, you are not being tolerant, and we cannot be tolerant of your intolerance. You are being asked to be tolerant of everyone while asking that the rest of us be tolerant of your intolerance, and that is not the way it works. In order to have a more healthy society, we must be intolerant of intolerance. It is the paradox of intolerance. Yes, you have the right to believe what you want until it hurts another person. There are those that feel strongly that this cult does hurt other people. Opponents of Ivo A. Benda consider him to be mentally ill. And coming from that viewpoint, you can see an obvious concern. It is not a great idea for anyone who is mentally ill to be leading others. Is Ivo A. Benda mentally ill? I am not a doctor. I am certainly not his doctor. But after the things I've told you today, I would consider him to be someone who is not grounded in reality. Like I said, are there aliens? Probably. Is this dude talking to them? No. Does it matter if people believe he is? Not really. But what matters is this. When people with these extreme beliefs, always fueled by fear, we can never forget that all forms of extremism are rooted in fear. People with a lot of fear are going to be drawn to the extreme beliefs. So people who live with a lot of fear, they are vulnerable and they are perhaps more persuadable, which makes them easy prey. It looks as though in the past decade, Ivo's activity online has really slowed down. His YouTube channel only has 300 subscribers, and he hadn't posted for a very, very long time until, when else? The pandemic. And this is why we should care about cults like this. As soon as the pandemic hit, Ivo reappeared online, and what was he saying? That the virus was not real and the vaccine was simply a way for the government to chip you. There are vulnerable people already scared out of their minds about a virus we had no treatment for, that millions were dying from, and we just don't need people like this who are already living in a fantasy world driving up the fear factor. I don't give a flying shit if you don't want a vaccine. At this point, it's Darwinism at work. If you believe that the millions of people who have dedicated their lives to medicine and science are working in some sort of giant conspiracy to hurt you, please don't get a vaccine. That's all I'm going to say about this. And frankly, that's how I feel about people like Ivo. But I don't feel that way about people who might fall into his trap or into the traps of others. People who disseminate bullshit infuriate me. You are not smarter than, you are not more aware, you are not more tuned into something than the rest of science is. It is not possible to do your own research when you don't even have the training, the education, not to mention a laboratory full of scientists in your backyard. So stop with that. And I'm not just talking about the vid. I'm talking about every situation like this. No one is an expert on anything just because they read an article online or watched a YouTube video. Watched 1,000 YouTube videos. Just like the woman from my story in the episode about the cult of Anastasia, neither you or I are capable of gathering more information than scientists who have devoted their lives to the study of whatever we're dealing with at the moment. So for someone like this crackpot, Ivo, to say that he speaks with aliens, and he has this special information and he's telling you not to get in a pandy, that, my friends, is dangerous. He might not have the online presence he used to, but the movement is still very, very real. And there are people that are listening to him, and he is spewing information that could get people killed. The Cosmic People of Light's websites are still pulling views, and there are still true believers in the whole thing. The Pleiadians, the lizard people, the microchipping, the telepathy, the channeling, it's all incredibly wild. And that is why we should care. Do I think this cult is as dangerous as some of the others that we've covered? I do not. But it's still worth putting out this information so people can become aware. We must fight misinformation and extremism in all its forms. We must protect vulnerable people among us, and we must help those who are not able to help themselves. When we tell a true crime story, we're trying to prevent other people from becoming victims of crimes. When we tell a conspiracy theory or a cult story, we're trying to put information out there that gives people the option. Everyone should have the option of believing this or believing that, but the information should at least be available. Look, nanu nanu, and may the force be with you, and whatever else. Just be careful when you're online. Be careful what you believe, and be careful what you spread, because it is the year of our Lord, 2024. And the more information we have at our fingertips, the more misinformation seems to become popular. Thank you for joining me today on another goofy cult story. Hit the like button if you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more from me, and you can join my Patreon. When you join Patreon, you help keep the episodes coming, and we are in the middle of a fundraiser. This is the thumbnail for that fundraiser. We are raising money to donate to police departments that have cold case DNA in storage that's never been tested. If you watch this video, it will give you all of the information about that fundraiser, and you can help us solve a cold case. I sure appreciate you. I know you have so many options of things to watch. You guys have been so kind and supportive. I think you can feel my frustration the last few weeks since the rebrand. Growth has been really, really slow, and you guys have said some of the nicest, most supportive things to me that anyone's ever said to me in my life. Truly, I don't know that you realize the only reason I'm still here is because of that. The only reason I'm still doing this is because you guys like the videos and you're so kind to me. I hope you're doing well. Keep your head up. Spring is right around the corner. I love you. Stay safe and be kind to each other, and I will see you next time on Dark Hearts with Stacy Lee. Bye.